call the evening session of the Johnston County Board of Commissioners June 3rd meeting to order. And welcome all those of you who are here tonight in person and both on the live stream. Couple things off the bat. One, we did have a couple of positions we needed to appoint that required a vote, and we had more applicants than we had positions open. And the results of that were for the Library Board of Trustees, Amy Stanley was appointed. And then for the Local Emergency Management Planning Commission, for the environmental position, Todd Ramsey was reappointed. And for the community group, for the LEPC, Marie Rogers was appointed. Also, just a reminder to the board's 6 priorities: educational funding, infrastructure, financial stewardship, land use, public safety, and our county employees. And you should hear a little bit of everything of those tonight. So with that, we will move on to the approval and discussion of the agenda. And I know this morning we had moved or created one item that we needed to continue discussion on our bond referendum numbers. And then also we also added the need for a closed session. So would any other discussion, or do I hear a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda with those additions. General obligation bond and the closed session.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Just note those will be items 4 for the bond and 7 for the closed session. So, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. All right. Next up, we have our public comments section. Just a reminder, if you're here, this is for items that are not on the agenda. You have 3 minutes to state your, I won't say concern, your comment, and just ask you come up, if you would, state your name and the general location of where you live, town or township is close enough. And I do think, do we have Mr. Kevin Saunders? Yeah, so he had requested to speak, so I'm going to ask you to come up first, if you would.
Yes, the matter is, I understand with rising costs, people want to have chicken coops and stuff like that, but I've called the zoning, the building zoning department. They came out, spoke with them. They had the coop directly on the line of the property. They moved it back 10 feet, but they still have the chickens where they can run, and the feces and all that stuff is draining onto our property. And my wife is sitting right here. She was cutting the grass the other week, and she couldn't hardly breathe, and she had to go to the hospital to deal with respiratory issues with the feces and stuff running onto the property. So hopefully, with the smell and the stuff coming over into our property, and they want to come over to our property and try to maintain stuff that they put on the property line when we got acre lots. So if they would have put it in the back of the yard, that stuff would have drained on their property and wouldn't be draining onto our property, causing us to get sick. I had cancer. I got respiratory issues and stuff myself, so I can get sick because my immune system is compromised. So I'm trying to figure out what can the county do to deal with issues like this that's causing people health problems and stuff, with people having chickens trying to save money. And that's my issue. And I have pictures on, where it's sitting at on my property and everything.
So if you would, and I forgot to say this in the lead up to the public comments, but it's not really an opportunity for us to have a discussion, but if you would email that information to our county manager.
Okay, if I can get all the information.
Yeah, if you can get it with him, and then we'll also staff, Rick, if you can look into this and see what options that we have and Mr. Saunders have as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak? Hey there. Good to see you again.
It's good to see y'all. My name is Liz Lynn. I'm a Clayton resident. I'm actually here representing one of our chapter members from Down Home NC. Her name is Francie Eccles. I am actually going to read her statement. She is running a little late, but we want to stay on y'all agenda and be timely. So I'm going to just read her statement, okay? It says I have, and these are from Francine, so just imagine I'm Francine. Okay. I moved from Cary and Joco in 2005 after working in local radio and TV and global communications for 25 years. I decided to get back to serving the community, and there are several concerns facing our county, not just here, but nationwide. One thing is high energy costs, our utility bills, leading residents to dangerous choices like using space heaters or not using heaters in the winter or not using AC in the hot summers, just to save money. Renters and homeowners often live in older homes and experience inadequate insulation, poor ventilation, and exposure to environmental hazards. JOCO is a member of Central Pines Regional Council, which serves as a leading resource to connect communities and enhance their strategic priority outcomes through regional policy, collaboration, and technical assistance at the local, regional, and state level. That includes topics such as transportation, aging, economic development, housing, environmental, and a lot more. With energy concerns. We know that Duke plans to hike their rates by 15% over the next 3 years, and it will hit our communities hard, especially Micro, Selma, Kinley, everyone. We know commissioners care about JOCO's growth, progress, and prosperity of the residents, and Down Home is excited to support and work with the county commissioners with hiring an energy navigator to pursue the millions of dollars available right now in the form of federal grants. Having an energy navigator means JOCO would have a county person designated to help identify specific IRA funds to share with JOCO residents. JOCO can take the lead in accessing our portion of this money through open grants and addressing the growing needs of our constituents. Please note that there is already a network of sustainability managers across North Carolina who can support the JOCO Navigator. This existing group of professionals to help our navigator is what we deserve and someone dedicated to helping our residents. I reiterate the request stated in this morning's meeting and initial steps needed in the upcoming county budget is to have a designated line item for a facilitator that would regulate, direct, oversee, and be accountable for the distribution of local monies provided to our homeowners and renters. At a no-cost item to the county, grants can be written to include the necessary salaries and associated costs for this energy manager, energy navigator, or whatever title you would like to put on it. We would just like somebody to help distribute these funds. As we know, residents are supportive of this, and that is all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? All right, and we did not have any emails submitted to us for public comment. So we will move on to the public hearings that we have scheduled. We have rezoning conditional use requests, and the first case is 2325. I will go ahead and open the conditional zoning district hearing and call on Braston Newton to come forward and present the information to us.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Board. Your first case this evening is case 23-25. This involves a petition to rezone approximately 3 acres of an 18.3 acre tract located at 8428 NC Highway 50 North in Elevation Township from agricultural residential to general business conditional zoning district. The owner is Katie Prue, and the applicant is Blake Hess. Blake Hess is an engineer with the Enoch Engineers. The conditional zoning request involves a specific use or uses listed in the application consisting of mulch and landscaping sales equipment and commercial vehicle parking. The surrounding land uses, zoning and land uses is agricultural and residential and used for such purposes. There is immediately almost due south of the site, there's Overflow Church, and across from Overflow Church is a small athletic facility as well, but you can see there you have residential neighborhood to the north, and off to the east and the west you have both cropland and even to the south, and woodland as well. Traffic concerns is NC Highway 50 in this location has about 5,500 trips per day or vehicles per day, and this is a 2021 count. And it does appear on our CTP as an existing major thoroughfare with adequate design capacity. Just keep in mind that is a 21 count. That is a 21 count immediately after post-COVID. So we expect those numbers, if they were done today, if we had updated numbers, we'd expect those to be a little bit higher. Our land use plan has this area designated as a low-density residential place type in accordance with the envisioned Johnston plan. Be glad to answer any questions you may have as it is related to this case, and there are a number of conditions there and a site plan for your consideration, as is customary with a conditional zone.
Any questions for Mr. Newton?
You noticed that, I noticed you say the planning board recommends approval. What about staff?
Staff recommendation is denial.
And you had mentioned continued violation. Is that of this piece or on the other side of the property?
So it exists on the 18 acres, but it does exist on the northern boundary of the property.
Okay. So for this parcel that is planned on being subdivided, that one no longer has violations?
Currently, yes, sir, it does have known violations.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Braston?
Did you say the reason the staff recommended was not in compliance with the land use plan?
We do find it to be inconsistent with the land use plan, and there are other factors, but in all cases with violations, we never recommend approval, just because of especially if the violation is still active and still there, and the violation is in place now.
And the businesses closest to this is that the car dealership to the north and
There's a car dealership to the
store to the south?
That's correct.
Which, I don't know, that's half a mile, maybe more.
Probably a little more than half.
Okay. Okay. All
There's
right.
a church right next door.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, if no other questions for Braston, I will ask the applicant to come forward and present their case.
Hey, guys. My name is Brian Prue. My wife and I are the landowners. The applicant, Blake, is not able to make it here today, so I'm going to do the best I can up here.
All right, anything you want to state for the record for your case, or if not, I'll move to the conditions.
Yes, sir. I'm just, we've been here in the McGee's Crossroads area now going on 13 years. My wife and I have been in business now going on 15 years. We've been parking our equipment right by the side of the house here the entire time we've lived at McGee's, and we got an anonymous complaint that we were parking commercial vehicles on residential land. So the whole purpose of me doing this is just so that I can continue to park my equipment next to my house and hopefully get permission to, sell a little bit of product in the meantime to help pay the difference in the taxes.
All right, any questions? I did have one, just looking at the drawings that were submitted.
Yes, sir.
It looks to me it's straight in, there's no turnaround area, and I know you got a disturbed area, it's 20-something thousand square feet, but just, I don't know that that's very realistic not to have a turnaround if you're going to be loading.
It was supposed to have a turnaround. I've had a lot of problems with the engineering company getting this right, and so it got to the point where I would just come to you guys and say, if you want me to make changes to it, I can. But the way it was originally designed, where you would pull in, have a turnaround area right in front of you, the gravel and mulch piles would be going down the straightaway, and then my equipment would just be parked in the back next to the woods.
Okay, and I know that, I think that the first time we looked at it before it was
Yes,
asked
sir.
to be tabled.
And then for some reason, he changed it and didn't add that to it. I'm not sure why. It's been a nightmare dealing with them.
Okay. And then, I guess the other, so is now the mulch, I know, again, the first go around, it was piles that were kind of spread around, and this looks like you've got bins.
Yes, sir. It was supposed to be originally in containments.
Okay.
I don't know why they didn't have that originally, but it would be in the concrete blocks like you see at all the other mulch locations.
Okay. So let me ask, and I'm going to speak ahead of the board here, but if I'm sitting in your shoes, I might want to come back with a drawing that is reflective of what your intentions are. I know I hate to ask you to put it off again, but I think if you're asking us to prove what we've got here on this drawing, I would say there's going to be a lot of questions about it. I could be wrong, but just offer you that as an option to think about having it redrawn so that we can see what would be an actual or realistic turnaround area.
Okay.
So I'll leave that up to, I'll leave the rest of the board as.
No, I agree with you. That was going to be my question too, just because I travel that every day. I can imagine somebody typically with a truck and a trailer, if they're going to load something and there's no turnaround, that it's going to be, it could cause some major issues on Highway 50. So that was going to be my question too, Chairman.
Yeah, I mean, I've got plenty of room there on the land.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be in there. I don't know why he didn't.
Yeah.
He took it out and changed it, but it would be turn around right in the front or in the back where the equipment is parked. There's plenty of room.
Okay.
You just need to understand, we need to approve a piece of paper that you put in front of us. We're not out on the site. We can't see what you're doing out there.
Yes, sir.
If you want us to approve something, you need to give us a piece of paper that shows exactly what you plan to do. If you don't, then all we have is a piece of paper in front of us. It's up to you. Do you want us to vote on the piece of paper we have today, or do you want to get it right?
I want to get it right. I thought it was right.
Then I'd suggest you ask for
Can you put
continuance.
the figure up there so he can see it? Okay, I was going to, you can go ahead and put it up. You can go ahead and put it up,
Motion to deny.
Susie, if you do that. But yeah, so you can see what we're talking about. Basically, it
Yes,
shows
it needs to happen.
straight
I
in,
got you.
straight out, and also for your equipment storage, it's not a lot of turnaround room, and I agree, the first plan had a little bit more, and I'm
Yes,
not
sir.
saying, not
I
making
can
any,
try
not
with
making any
Blake
promises
again,
of what
but-
happened when we hear it again, but I do say it needs to reflect
Yes, sir.
what you want to have out there.
Yes, sir. I got you.
Okay.
I'll get those changes made if we can schedule this for another
So,
time.
so we can just reschedule to our July, mid-July, I think we only have one meeting in July, so. Do we? Okay,
July 15th is the meeting, and you have opened a public hearing, so you would just have to continue this public hearing for that date. So that would eliminate any necessity to re-advertise or anything of that nature. You're not resubmitting a completely new submittal. They are revising, submitting a different site plan for consideration, but it is the intention of the use is still there. You just continue the public hearing to that date,
July the 15th?
15th.
Okay. Now, somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
I make a motion that we table this and review it once we have an updated plan at the July 15th meeting.
Second. Yeah. All right, that moment says, is the magic word table or continue?
Continue.
Continue, okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of continuance, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
So I come
Yeah,
back
we'll see,
on
yeah, on
15th.
the 15th, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and get with Braston and make sure you got all the submittals in.
Yes, sir.
At the appropriate time, but I think, again, show us what you want us to approve, and, because we're going to approve what's on the,
I understand.
on paper in front
Okay.
of us.
Thank
All
you,
right,
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is case 2407. I will now open the conditional zoning district hearing. And Mr. Newton, I will call on you again to present the background and lead us in discussion.
Yes, sir. Case 2407 involves a petition to rezone approximately 2 acres of a 3.92 acre tract located at 2264 Sanders Road in the Pleasant Grove Township from agricultural residential to general business conditional zoning district. The owner, Aldridge Incorporated, applicant Adams and Hodge Engineering. The conditional zoning request does involve the specific land use or uses, and this is contractor's office and warehouse. Property surrounding the subject parcel is primarily agricultural residential, and used for such purposes as residential and cropland or agricultural purposes. and you will see some woodland there scattered in as well. There is one parcel immediately to if you're facing the property from Sanders Road to the left, which is a daycare, and that is properly zoned. It is a conditional zoning district, which was from our legacy special use district, which is no longer allowed by statute. Traffic concerns for Sanders Road, there are no counts available for Sanders Road, and it does not appear on our CTP or comprehensive transportation plan as needing improvement. With regard to our land use plan, this area is designated as a low-density residential place type in accordance with the envisioned Johnston plan. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions for Mr. Newton? I think since we've asked it the last one, what was staff's recommendation?
Staff's recommendation is denial. We had pre-applications meeting. We had discussed the need really to push the building back as far as possible and get it off the road as far as possible. We just don't feel like that was there. In addition to it is there are some concerns over the inconsistency with the land use plan. It's once again noted it's low density residential. The current character of the area is agriculture and residential. You do have the daycare immediately adjacent. There is one other daycare with an actual appropriate zoning just down the road as well. Everything else along Sanders Road is agriculture residential and developed for such at this time, with the exception of its intersection with NC 50, and that is actually denoted as a node on our current land use plan, so it does allow for some community-based commercial opportunity there, community activity or commercial activity there.
The new land use plan would allow this.
At the intersection.
At the intersection.
At the intersection of NC 50 and Sanders Road, yes, sir.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Newton? All right, and at this time, we will hear from the applicant. I think Mr. Adams is here to present the information on the request, and then we'll talk about conditions when we get to the appropriate point.
Yes, sir. Good evening. I'm Donnie Adams with Adams and Hodge Engineering, 314 East Main Street in Clayton, North Carolina. Our firm is handling the planning and hopeful engineering on this project. As Mr. Newton stated, the company is Aldridge Incorporated. They are a commercial refrigeration company that works in the county. They do, it's not a manufacturing company, it's an installation company. So they purchase the equipment and install it. Grocery stores, I think, are one of the particular uses. To talk a little bit about the area, just following up on some of the things Mr. Newton mentioned. Again, one of the adjacent parcels, the community business, is a daycare. Also on an adjacent parcel in the same little piece here is a roofing business that's out there that's existing. So this particular use wouldn't be a standalone out in the middle of nowhere. There are some commercial uses going on in that area.
Mr. Is that on the map that she has up on the screen? Or you? Yeah, I was gonna say you can look here too if you.
Okay. All right. So the daycare is here, and there's a sign here for the roofing business. I don't know exactly where they are, if it's adjacent to the daycare, but where it is, and then you can see our blue parcel.
Okay.
The daycare and the roofing business. As far as setback, you can see the lines on the paper. Setback would be required at for commercial about 40 feet. We have it pushed at just somewhere between 250 and 300 feet from the right of way. Access, no issue with access. We've had our preliminary conversations with NCDOT, no concerns about the driveway. I do have some elevations that I know they're not required, but just to present a picture. Our clients have spent some time with an architect to capture what their vision for the building is, should we get approved here tonight.
And I would just ask our council, those aren't part of any consideration that we have tonight for the elevations of the side of the building. All right, yeah, I may raise that in form of a question. Okay, thank you. I was going to get our deputy clerk to put can you put the next map up there? Susan, I don't know that we need the elevation on there, but the one that has a little deep, there you go. That may be some help. Mr. Adams, as he describes the site and for the public to see what we're looking at are drawings up here.
Absolutely. So moving from Sanders Road back onto the site, we had the parking in front of the building that meets requirements for the square foot of the building that's required. It'd be a combination of employee parking and anybody that may walk in. This isn't like a storefront commercial business. These are contractors, but we are providing parking for employees. We have the building, like the building you see in front of us. A nice main entrance, and then we have access to on the sides, on the access road side, and then to the rear we have parking in the rear. That'll also be for basically a lay-down yard, and as equipment or materials are moved from delivery truck onto the work trucks to be taken out to the sites. And then behind our parking area is our proposed stormwater control measure. It's located in the proper place on the site on where the water wants to go. So we plan to make allow the water to keep going where it's going, and we'll be treating it according to the county standards. One thing that's not part of the submittal, but the owners of Aldridge Incorporated, they also they own the parcel that continues onto the back. There's a single-family residence back there. They will continue to maintain the ownership of that for their personal residential use. And with that being said, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
They just bought this property in December, is that right?
It was recent, is that correct, in December?
Okay.
Just like the big division there, it's all long, narrow strip of land. How wide is this property?
119.
Yeah.
How wide?
Somewhere around 120, yeah, 118 and a half, 120 feet.
Yeah. Where is this business located now?
119 feet wide.
Are you on Shipwash? Yeah, off Old Drugstore Road in the Cleveland School area.
Okay.
Can you talk to us about what you anticipate as far as how many employees, how many trucks coming in, all of that, what that looks like?
Yes, so the majority of their employees go straight from home to the site. There will be an occasional person that comes in, parks their car, and is picked up by a crew to move on with it. The traffic throughout the day, it will be a low generation traffic, mainly for the materials that come in to be ready to go out to the job. I think they're going to have 2 to 4 on-site employees. About right.
And then what about the other traffic? Just for,
Which other traffic?
well, if there's any equipment or anything like that coming in, it's,
Okay, so occasionally they'll park their work trucks with a trailer on the site. That varies, but it's not a day in and day out routine.
that was my question. So it's not like people are coming in and out all day long and trucks and that type of thing all day long. It's more just a destination, for lack of a better word.
How many deliveries are you talking about a day or week or whatever the frequency is?
Yeah, we talked about this some, and I want you to confirm me, but it's not a daily delivery. There are often days that there's deliveries, definitely a couple to 3 a week. Fair statement. But it's more like FedEx and not the big trucks bringing stuff in.
Okay.
And you said there's a residence on the property too, so it's kind of like a work at home situation
Sure.
for the plan.
All right, any other questions?
I have a couple
All right.
questions, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
sir.
There's a lot of long, narrow lots on both sides of this particular lot. I know it's on the west side. On the east side, are they residences, agriculture, or what type of developments on those?
To the east.
That would be down on that particular map.
Downside.
Yeah.
Yes, it's AR.
Looks like farmland. Unless it's been developed since this picture.
There's a
And-
couple,
Okay, I've seen the picture here that Mr. Godwin's got up. I understood Braston say in his presentation that there was a daycare that was a conditional use zoning that's a legacy carryover, and there was another daycare business in that vicinity that was properly zoned. But you brought up the fact that there's a roofing company also.
There is, I don't have any main details about it, but there is a roofing business, and like my
Right
client
here.
was saying, it's in the building adjacent to the daycare.
Do we have any indication that it's properly zoned?
No, sir, it would not be because the zoning does not indicate such.
Okay, well,
It's two
Yeah, that-
tracks down. That's the roofing business to the west. 2 tracks down.
even though it's broken up like that, it's one residence.
well, it would seem that we are setting a precedent here to transition this area over to a commercial use based upon the number of businesses that are there now and proposing to be there, which is not consistent with the long-range land use plan that Mr. Newton referred to. And I question, does that mean that we need to be relooking at this whole area differently, or we're going to adhere to what's in the land use plan? Now, I participated in the Citizens Advisory Committee that developed this new land use plan, and it was done so with great expertise and care, and the consultant worked very closely with the citizens involved. Now, I believe strongly in the findings in that plan, and I find it hard to go out and approve exceptions to it when it was the focus of that vision of the land use plan was viewed to be in the best interest of citizens. But we seem to have quite a few exceptions here that go against what that plan is saying. Just an observation.
All right, any other comments? Points well made. Any other questions for the applicant? And I do see we have 14 conditions, so we'll. Okay, we're working on it. We won't get them up on the screen soon. As we're looking, I don't know if the board has any questions about those, but we'll add, once they're up on the screen. Got them all 14 up there now, so are they, are you and the owners agreeable to all 14 of those conditions? Okay. All right, any other public comments at this time, or any, I don't think we have any questions from Mr. Adams, but any other public comments? And Madam Clerk, do we receive any emails?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I didn't dig to the bottom of the paper there, so we've got one. Somebody want to summarize that for me right quick? There we go.
They're concerned about traffic.
Okay, so traffic, okay. All right, so we did have one letter on there. So if there's not any other public comments, then I will close the public discussion portion of the hearing and ask Mr. Newton to come forward and summarize and present the planning board's recommendation.
Yes, sir, as it relates to case 24-07, planning board does recommend approval by way of unanimous vote and does provide for your consideration a resolution of statement of consistency.
All right, and I have already asked the applicant, if they agree with the 14 conditions as proposed, and they were agreeable. So I will now close the hearing, and I will turn it over to the board for additional discussion and/or a motion.
You know, I by nature, I generally lean towards freedom and not any kind of oppression by the government or government entity. But I agree with Mr. Stovall. If we totally continually ignore, make exceptions to the land use plan, what good is it? What good would we do? I guess one of the things that stands out to me is the fact that the zoning was in place when the property was purchased. It's not like they've been there 10 years and things change, evolve, and that sort of thing.
All right, any other comments?
I'm not going to disagree to a point to what y'all said. I think the difference for me is the fact that it's not like a public-facing business, and it's more of how many cases have we seen here lately where somebody's just trying to do their own work at their own house type of situation, or on their property. So I can see it both ways. You know, I used to have a commercial business at my house with a big barn on it. I can see it both ways, but I feel like if this was something where there was going to be constant 18-wheelers, 30 employees every day, I think that would be different, and that's where I'm hoping that we can, you know, when we are continuing, you know, figuring out what the zoning is going to be for all of these areas within our land use plan, that we can have some restrictions with regards to that.
Any other comments?
If we 100% decide that we're going to stick with the land use plan, which I agree a lot of work went into it, and it's a good document, but does that mean we're not going to have these hearings anymore? Because that's what it's going to come up to.
That's right.
Let me jump in here.
All right.
We got a land use plan, but there have been no laws or regulations implementing that plan. That plan has no legal effect whatsoever today. It is only an advisory plan to guide us. That's why we're hiring a group to implement it by coming forward with some rules and regulations and laws. Until that happens, it does not have the force of law. And most of the people who bought property were not informed of that plan, didn't know anything about that plan, and were not bound by that plan.
All right, I would just look to our counsel and see, get her opinion on that. I doubt yours, but I was going to ask our counsel's opinion.
So a comprehensive land use plan is required by the statutes, but it is an advisory document. It's a guidance document. And so you look at that document when these rezonings come to you. One, you're looking for consistency with the plan, and that's a legislative decision. You're also looking at public interest. So those are the two things that you're looking at. But the plan is a guidance and advisory document.
Jennifer, but wouldn't that plan, in that plan,
Ready to make a motion.
a guidance, document that's got to be implemented, and we're hiring a group of people to come forward to implement that plan with rules and regulations, which we have not done.
So there have not been any changes to your ordinance as a result of the comprehensive land use plan. However, the comprehensive land use plan is still a guiding document for you to consider when you're making these determinations. But Mr. Smith, you're correct. We have not changed any ordinances in conjunction with the plan at this time.
How about if we move along? Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the statement of consistency resolution as presented in the agenda packet and approve the rezoning request with the conditions as discussed.
I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion And the second, any other discussion? All right, I was going to chime in that I was good up to the point you asked the question when they bought the property. The land use plan was in August, was it 23 or 22 when we adopted that thing?
Just last year.
23, when we adopted that thing. So I don't know how we do more specific advertising than we've done. So I may be the lone dissenting vote, but I did want to say that I felt like the land use plan, we had done as good a job as we could in getting that advertised. They bought the land after the land use plan had been adopted. So for that reason, I'm going to vote against this motion.
Butch, how many citizens do you think? How many citizens you
So,
think?
Fred, I'm not the one being asked questions. I'm not under being
I was just asking.
answering questions. I don't know how many pay attention, but I think in real estate, when somebody buys land, they're supposed to be disclosed what the ordinances are. I don't know if that happens or not. But somebody don't know what the zoning is if you're buying it to put a business on it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the questions, but we have a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded, so I'm going to call for the vote. All of those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Passes 4-3. All right, the next and final zoning case we have is case 24-08. And it is also, I will open the conditional zoning district hearing and ask for Braston to bring us the background and help us lead us in discussion on this. Yeah, let's let people clear out and clear in there for a second.
Mr. Chairman, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right, case 24-08 involves a petition to rezone approximately 6.6 acres of a approximately 24-acre tract located at 928 Gordon Road in the Clayton Township from agriculture residential to general business, or to agriculture residential conditional zoning district. Owner is Stevens Enterprises LLC, applicant is Duke Energy Progress. The conditional zoning request is tied to specific uses, limited uses being electrical substations, switching stations, transmission lines, and related facilities. The surrounding zoning and land uses are AR and are used for agricultural and residential purposes. You can see there's some cropland. In addition to that, there's some woodland there. There's a nursery there just due south of the property. The specific property there, as you can see, is highlighted there in the red, encompassed in the red, for the siting of this facility. You also see that close or near the site is light industrial zoning and used for such purposes, and there are also adjacent zonings with the town or with Wilson's Mills, town of Wilson's Mills and their ETJ, and these are both industrial and some commercial uses as well in that area. Traffic concerns with regard to Gordon Road, there are no traffic counts available, current traffic counts available, and it does not appear on the transportation plan as needing improvement. This particular area is located in an employment center place type in accordance with Envision Johnston. Would be glad, or you will see there are a list of conditions for your consideration and a site plan there from Duke Energy for the development of this facility for your consideration as well.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Newton? All right. Judging from the number of folks that walked into the room, I imagine we have a presentation in store for us, so I will ask the applicant to come forward and make that presentation.
Good evening. My name is Amy Kraut. I'm an attorney at Smith Anderson. I'm representing Duke in this conditional rezoning request. As you mentioned, I've got a contingent of Duke representatives with me this evening to answer any questions that you might have. As always, Duke appreciates planning staff and the opportunity to work with the county on this application. And we're asking you that you approve the conditional rezoning request with the 10 conditions outlined in the agenda packet. This will allow Duke to construct and operate a capacitor bank station to enhance reliability to support existing and future customers in the area. So as mentioned, Duke is under contract to purchase the approximately 6.5 acre tract shown in yellow on the screen, which will come out of the larger 23 acre tract outlined in red. It's located off Gordon Road in between Clayton and Wilson Mills. It's currently zoned AR, and we're not seeking to change that base zoning district, as utilities and public works facilities are allowed with the conditional zoning district on top of the AR district. And again, this rezoning request is tailored only to affect the property outlined in yellow, not the entire 23 acre tract. So first, a little bit about what a capacitor bank is. Capacitor banks are necessary infrastructure in Duke's transmission system used to regulate the voltage of electrical infrastructure in the area. So they're a little bit different than traditional electrical substations. A general representation of what one looks like is on the slide. And so the technical difference is a capacitor bank is designed to boost voltage. Often as an area grows, time passes, voltage naturally declines, whereas a substation transforms power from a higher voltage to a lower voltage so that it can be sent to customers' homes and businesses. That is my layman's explanation. If you want the more technical explanation, I have the people in the audience who can do that. So why is it needed here? Duke is always evaluating the infrastructure needs so it can continue to provide reliable service in meeting demand. Duke determined that a capacitor bank is needed along the Clayton-Selma 115 kV line to help maintain voltage within an acceptable range. So they identified a risk of low voltages in that existing transmission system within central Johnston County and determined that siting of a new capacitor bank in this location will mitigate that issue. This avoids placements of new transmission lines that are a much lengthier and intensive process affecting more individuals than one siting of a capacitor bank. So why this site? Duke Energy always engages in a formal siting process to evaluate property that meets Duke's specific needs. Is it the right location? One of the big things that they look at is whether there's a transmission line already bisecting the site. This prevents them from having to move or add any additional transmission lines. They also look at whether the site is already cleared, and this site is pretty much cleared, and it limits the impact to vegetation in the area. So this infrastructure upgrade will enhance reliability to support existing and future customers and is really essential to the service of the area. Duke submitted a conceptual site plan with the application. I'll be giving a high-level overview of the site plan, but we do have our engineers here to answer any specific questions that you have. So the capacitor tank bank station will be accessed via proposed driveway off of Gordon Road, but the actual station will be set back about 187 feet from the road. It does not have any heated square footage, public utility needs, and traffic will not be impacted. The only planned vehicular trips to the site would be for inspection of equipment, which only happens about once a month. No vehicles or materials are stored on premise. The site is also surrounded by the required landscape buffers in the UDO as modified by the conditions that you'll see. In terms of the landscape buffers, as would be expected, there's going to be no plantings directly under the transmission line easement areas. And while typically Duke doesn't allow any vegetation within what they call the dangerous tree zones, they have agreed to plant vegetation in that area provided that it doesn't exceed 15 feet at maturity in height. So as much as possible, you'll see, and to limit the visual impact of the development, the applicant intends to meet these requirements primarily through preservation of existing vegetation on the property. In terms of some of the other conditions, I'm happy to talk through those if needed for what the applicant proposed. But again, this site would only be limited to these uses, the electrical substation, capacitor banks, and the like. The planning board did recommend approval and changing condition 5, which talks about all area housing the equipment shall be enclosed within an 8-foot fence topped with barbed wire. Originally, that fence was going to be screened. It is Duke's policy for security and safety purposes always to ask that the fences around these substations and capacitor banks not be screened. This allows Duke's employees and law enforcement to see into the site prior to entering, and it's a big safety issue to have them screened. And the planning board did recommend approval with that change. So they removed screened fencing from condition 5 and allows a non-opaque fence. As Taft noted, the property is located within an employment center. These areas are intended to be mixed-use areas targeted as the primary location of job-generating uses in settings that meet today's workplace expectations. How does this capacitor bank meet that? A stable power grid enhances public safety, economic development, and quality of life, as all forms of land use rely on electrical power to meet their daily needs. It does support existing neighborhood and overall growth in the county, and support several of the goals of the comprehensive plan. Staff and the planning board have recommended approval, and we're happy to answer any specific questions that you might have.
All right, any questions?
I do.
From
This
Sprout?
capacitor bank would be tied into those transmission lines
It
now.
would be tied into this transmission line, correct?
All right, any other questions? All right, and I guess I need to ask you the same. There's 10 conditions,
There.
and you are agreeable to those 10. As noted, you had mentioned the change to the fencing made by the planning board, so that's in here. So, all right.
Technical question, do you know if there's any magnetic induction that comes from this capacitor bank?
Are you speaking mostly about like EMF, magnetic fields, those types of
Yeah.
things?
Oh,
So the basic answer to that is, we live with EMF in our daily lives, hair dryers, et cetera. These substations and capacitor banks don't provide any greater than those other.
any noise comes from it?
No, there should be no noise after construction.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, Ms. Kraut. Is anyone else from the public here wishing to speak to this item? All right, I will close the public discussion portion of the hearing and call on Mr. Newton to come and summarize and present the planning board recommendation.
Yes, sir, as it relates to case 24-08, planning board does recommend approval with the stated conditions and the submitted site plan. Offers for your consideration also the resolution of statement of consistency.
All right, any other questions? Mr. Newton? I will now close the public hearing and turn it over to the board for their deliberation and/or motion.
Mr. Chairman, I think this is a needed facility. Capacitor is a surge protector in a certain way, and quality of life depends on a good electrical system and a good grid, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve this request.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt the statement of consistency resolution as presented in our agenda packet and approve the text amendment. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll give them a second to clear while we get ready for the next item, which is a continuation of a resolution on our 2024 general obligation bond referendum. So, Martha, you're going to come, somebody going to come back up and kickstart this one for us? Basically, as we heard this morning, we are selecting a number of our bond amount for the Johnston County Public Schools Their original request was $285 million. And we're also considering the amount of the Johnston Community College bond, and their initial request was 80, I think it was 120 revised to 85 million. So with that, I'll.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Maybe I got this wrong. In the agenda review, I thought what we said was, this was just a philosophical number, it was not the actual number.
I think tonight is this is the latest.
this the
we get.
actual
This is
nu-
the actual number.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Yes, sir. It is the actual number.
It, it's a maximum number. It can go down from this point, but it can't go up.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. This is not the number, it's the maximum number, but it can go down. I thought that's what we have said.
Yeah.
I think when you go to the League of Municipalities, though, you're gonna
No,
have to
no,
have the exact
local
breakdown.
government
Is that right?
The local
Local
government,
Yeah.
that's correct. We have to file the application in
Yeah.
2 weeks.
All right.
We need,
Yeah.
we really need the
I'm
number.
fine with it being a maximum number. I thought when we were in the discussion there, agenda review, that we had a board member who wanted a specific number, not to be a maximum, but be the number, so.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay. I'm just trying to clarify what we're dealing with.
Then prior to the LGC, we have to have it nailed down to exactly what it is that correct?
Yes.
So when will will that be at our budget meeting when we do that one, our meeting with the LGC? When do we come up with the final number?
In
Yeah, take your
couple
time
of-
in answering.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have to file the application, and I guess technically we can file the application with a maximum number. But there are, let's see, I think in 2 more meetings, probably the July meeting is when we adopt each bond order and call the referendum. At that point, we definitely have to have the exact number.
Butch, I guess I'm looking to you as our chairman. When do you want us to determine the number?
I thought that's what we were going to do
Yeah.
tonight, so I'm
That's
ready
what I
to do,
thought.
I'm ready to do it
Okay, well, I am
tonight.
too.
Yeah, I'm ready to do it tonight.
I am too,
I just
if
wanna
that's
make
what
sure,
you
yeah.
want to do. I
Did you-
just wanted to
did you-
understand.
Am I
I
correct?
think that's
that
the preferred.
Yeah.
The school board and the college will have to actually break it down to the usage for the LGC, right?
That's correct.
So we just give a number. They gotta
Yeah,
break it
come on
down
up,
later.
come on up to the microphone.
Yeah, traditionally, in the last 6 or 7 bond referendums, the commissioners have set the number, the actual number, but as Ms. Laster said, it's the maximum you're dealing with. I think the important thing, if you set a maximum, to make sure it's clear that that's a maximum. You see what I'm saying?
I understand, but I understand what you're saying, but maximums have a way of becoming the number.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's the problem I got.
Yeah.
I'd rather do what Butch says, let's
Yeah,
come up with the number.
Right.
And go with that rather than some pie in the sky number that has a way to morph up to that number.
And traditionally, that's what the board's done, is set the actual number.
I would agree
That's
with
the
you, Butch,
preferred.
that's what we ought to do.
Okay, yeah, when we get finished with this tonight, I'd like to be done at least with this number.
And the only thing I'll add is that once the numbers are decided, there are 2 resolutions for each, for each category, the school bonds and the community college bonds. One resolution authorizes staff to proceed with filing the application with the local government commission, authorizes publication of a notice of intent to file that application, which is required by the statutes, and make certain findings related to the bonds. And the second resolution declares official intent to reimburse expenditures with proceeds of the debt once we issue any debt.
Didn't you say that had to be done by June 7th? Did I hear that?
These resolutions need to be done today.
Yeah.
This
Have to
is
be
the initial
filed.
action.
Okay.
That's right, before we leave here tonight, we will have
Let's
2 numbers.
finish it up.
All right.
Butch, is this, I'm not trying to get the cart before the horse. We also talked about talking about new charters. Is this the time to talk about it? or not the time to talk about it?
So my preference would be let's handle the bond numbers, and I think if we want to offer some guidance to staff on other things we want to be in our budget, I know the manager has already presented his budget, but for us to provide guidance on things that we would like to see in the budget as we move forward.
Separate from the bond?
Yeah, we can do it, we can just continue the discussion after that.
And we would be glad to provide those options that we could do, whether it's those separate items, like Mr. Smith just mentioned, whether that be a borrow or come out of fund. I guess it wouldn't matter, but we can bring back those ideas.
Okay. All right. So I will throw it open, and let's go with the Johnston County Public Schools first and their bond request. Let's see if we can tackle that number first. I don't know if anybody wants to jump out there and start, but somebody please.
I'll be glad to start. We ran models based on a $200 million bond for the public school system. They've asked for 285, and that was some of the models that we ran.
I think that did include Clayton.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I would argue that we need to make, I'm gonna use the old language because that's what I'm familiar with. I would recommend that the Clayton be a COP rather than part of the bond issue and not be included in this.
So I was going to say, so if we start there, I think I agree with that. I think the Johnston County Public Schools has proposed Clayton High School, which was about $113 million, I believe. And I think the plan they have right now is to construct the new school while the old school is operational and functioning and has students. And I think at least this board member, and I know others, had concern about that being able to actually happen. And so I think we would like some additional study to make sure that that is the case, and we would pull Clayton High School from the bond, and we'll consider a limited obligation bonds next year once we have some answers to the feasibility of actually making that school happen there, or if there's another alternative location or something that may work better. So I think that's
I would agree.
probably a fair starting point, is let's pull Clayton off there, which leaves us about 170, I think, million left out of that. I know there was some additions and some major projects, and then some overall, about 70 million of overall renovations on that. And I'll just throw mine, when I take all of that and mix it up in the watermelon and come out, the number that I have in my head is $120 million. And I think that would get the additions. I know this board has been big on eliminating mobile classrooms. I think with those elementary school additions that they had in their plan, that we can avoid additional mobile classrooms, especially if we're looking at, with the 4 projects we have going on now that are just getting off the ground, we're looking at 106 mobile units that would go away with the completion of that construction. And the school board has discussed redistricting, and that would eliminate another 20. So really by the end of 26, we could be looking at 126 less mobile units.
We got 187 now.
And we
I
have
think.
187 total. So we can, in 2 years, we can make a serious dent in getting rid of mobile units, which is not only for this board, but in prior boards has been, one of the biggest things that we wanted to do. And it'll be fair to the school board, same thing for them. They want to do away with mobile units. So I think
I would wholeheartedly support the chairman's recommendation,
I would too.
and would encourage the board to make sure that we hold the school board accountable to get rid of those mobile classrooms and not forget that that was one of the conditions on doing this. I know you can't make that in the legal deal,
right.
But we as a board should.
I'm sure we have a few watching now, or we'll watch it. So I think that message is being delivered as we speak. And I really don't think there's an issue with that, because I think that's one of their primary motivations too, is to get away from mobile units. So is that, I don't know if we have to take official, but a consensus of the board is do we have to have a vote for the resolution?
You do have to
Okay.
adopt the
All right,
resolutions.
you need a motion.
Yes, we do.
All right, I'll make a motion that we do what Butch said.
Adopt the resolution with $120 million.
You want to repeat what you said?
Yeah, so,
I get it.
yeah, you got it. Okay, well,
Staff requests the board to adopt two sets of resolutions, four total relating to the $120 million general obligation school bond. Period. Then we'll
Second.
deal with the, yeah.
all right, so we won't have one set now with two resolutions for Johnson County Public Schools in the amount of $120 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
You got a second over here.
Yeah, okay. A motion and a second. All those in favor of that resolution, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
All right, motion carries 6-1. All right, next up is Johnston Community College. And like I said, their original request was for 120. That included the $85 million for a Clayton campus, and I'm trying to do the math in my head.
150.
35.
Yeah, $35 million for public safety and some other renovations on the Smithfield campus. They reduced that request to $85 million, which was 70 for the Clayton campus and 15 for public safety on there. So I will let someone else start this discussion, but I think that's, and I will just say for this board, the discussion has been that the Clayton campus is off the table at this point, and that we would kind of do the same thing we've done with Johnson County Public Schools, is ask JCC to look at land and then pursue a site plan once they locate land for that, and we consider that separately from any bond issue. So if we take that off the table, we're left with basically Smithfield campus, and what do we, what kind of funding do we want to provide for that, for them to expand and renovate their public safety.
What's the number that you recommend, Butch?
So doing some backward math, I came up with 26.5, but I think there's some other things they probably need to do. So 30 million would be a number, and for me.
In the past, we've always just made it for the college. Now we're specifying that it's for public safety. So, and I think with their needs and all, 30 million is going to be the number I would be at.
So I hesitate a little bit to say public safety because I don't know what else they may have on there, but I think the 30 million is a good number, and there's a lot not to be done there. So
I'll make that in the form of a motion, Mr.
I'll
Chairman.
second it.
all right, we have a motion to second. Any other discussion? I know we had 3 members who went and toured the facilities and spent a little time on it last week. So any comments, concerns?
Well, something Commissioner Harris said earlier today, if you had a flat tire beside the road on the car, you wouldn't pump up the tire halfway. And I understand that, and I certainly would want to do something that would accomplish what they need to get accomplished, especially in public safety. But if 30 million would do it, I can support the number.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. 30 million won't do it. So, I mean, you can throw 30 million at it, but it's not going to fix the problem. Mr. Stovall, you were there. What was your take?
Well, it was clear that their community college's bond request was contingent upon having space vacated by the medical program that presumably would move to Clayton if that campus was built, and that would be reassigned over to public safety. In the absence of that happening, it would seem that based on the information available, they're going to come up short either in classroom space or the external training ground features that they need to make that program whole. But there was some additional explanation needed in those numbers. It didn't seem to come up to be self-explanatory. I question if 30 million is enough, but if that's what the board chooses to do, then a lot can be done with $30 million.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
And how
Yes.
quick can you spend it? I mean, $30 million is a lot to spend when we don't have anything in the paper yet. And we'll be back addressing this issue again next year.
That
But I
was,
think, excuse me, they certainly can prioritize that money toward what they feel is going to best serve their needs to expand that public safety program, whether it be classroom space or outside training features or a combination of both to the extent that it will go.
and I agree with you, Commissioner Harris, to a degree. I think we're just putting on the spare instead of only pumping it up halfway, maybe. And it'd be one thing if we weren't making these kind of decisions every year, just like Commissioner Braswell said. So we know, I think there'll be few more defined needs next year that we will need to address.
I think Bill makes a good point that $30 million is a lot of money. You can get started and get headed down the track pretty good, and then if we need to come back with some money, more money next year when we have a more defined plan, we can do it, and I think he's right there.
And remember, we're talking about a bond. We can always address some of these items in the budget.
Yeah, and I will say, too, we were talking about earmarking the money and telling them what it was for is, I know, as being on the Board of Trustees, that public safety only option has not been vetted by the trustees, and to tell them this is how you're going to spend it. Now, granted, I think, again, they're probably watching, and we can emphasize that public safety needs to be the primary focus of this, a big focus of this, because I think the statistic that I received earlier today was that 2/3 of the folks who get some sort of certification in public safety within 5 years return for at least one other course. So I will say, different than most educational courses they offer on the public safety side, folks tend to return and continue education, whether it's a fireman, police officer, or EMT, that they're returning for training there. And I agree. I mean, we can, as they come up with a plan, that they'll have an idea of how far that 30 million is going to go and can formulate the next plan.
Specifics always makes it easier to make a decision.
Yeah, and I do think, to Commissioner Harris's point, there's not anything that we typically fix in one funding cycle. So I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I think that it's not uncommon for us to take more than one funding cycle to get something done, and hopefully they'll come back with a plan to continue on with that. So, but we have a motion and a second for the 30 million for the JCC bond amount. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of that, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Do we got the two? That what we meant to say was all those resolution stuff. Okay. All right. Well, that was.
It's now the time to deal with our.
Yes, it is. So we've talked about bonds. I know we have, this is a unique year when we got reval coming next year. We've, had the fire tax matrix is going into effect, and the manager's budget is calling for 14 cents there. A lot of things on the plate, so I would say this would be the time to provide some guidance to staff to take a look at what some of these other alternatives, whether we're looking at tax rate or other things, that let's discuss those now, provide some direction so we can have some resolution before the 17th, and we're sitting here trying to make last minute decisions. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to throw out that we instruct staff to reduce the tax rate 2 cents and come back with a tax rate of 67 cents. Last year, we reduced it 4 cents, and we talked about it wouldn't be a problem, and it was not a problem. We ended up with more revenue this year than we had last year, and went from a 65% fund balance to a 71% fund balance. We still, and we as a group, have been advised by our financial advisors that 40% is what's adequate. We said at our retreat that 50%, we would have a 10% cushion, and 50% would be enough. But I realize that we're looking at, to go to 50%, there's no way that's gonna happen. But I would recommend that we reduce this 2 cents, which is just, I think if Chad doesn't correct me, it's about $3 million per penny, which is $6 million. In addition to that, the fire tax is going up 2 cents. So our
I think
citizens.
it depends on where you are. It's 2 to 6.
Could be more, could be
Yeah, so
more.
I think at a bare minimum, we should reduce the tax rate 2 cents.
Any other thoughts? Yes, sir.
So, just make sure we got it right. So, the board's talking about things to incorporate into the final budget motion. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, to run your projections on,
Sir?
to run your projections on.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would agree with Commissioner Smith, especially given the economy and where we are right now. I think every bit helps, for lack of a better word, and we do know that we have the revow coming up, so we have to be prepared for that, and I think this is a good move in an effort to give some relief to the citizens without jeopardizing the financial stability of the county moving forward, and everything that we have on the plans to be done.
All right, anyone else? You remind myself to lean forward. I will say, and Commissioner Stovall, when you came on, you made a famous statement that you wanted what you thought of Commissioner Tony Braswell, and wanted to serve the people as he had. And if there was a commissioner who loved to give tax cuts to the people, it was Tony Braswell. So when you said it at the time, I wasn't thinking that, but I have been thinking that, and I do agree that it is ultimately the taxpayers' money, and there's no need for us to collect it and do things with it. We can give it back to them. And Commissioner Stevens kind of hit where I was. It's should be of minimal impact to our budget, but everything makes a difference. And if we can do something now for the taxpayers to keep the money in their pocket, I think that's something that I may not have appreciated before meeting Commissioner Tony Braswell, but after hearing it for 5 years under him, it's kind of sunk in. Commissioner Smith is the same way. So I would concur that if you would take a look at the 2 cents.
If Tony was still here, it'd be 7 cents.
Yeah, that is 100% correct. Yeah, that
He's
is 100%
just shaking his
correct.
fist in heaven, I'm sure. It's not more.
So, anyone else chime in? So do we need just consensus of the board?
Just consensus.
So, I
You can
mean,
do it as part of your budget ordinance.
okay, so,
Is there consensus?
yeah, I think so. I mean, anybody object to putting that in the models and taking a look at it and,
No.
okay,
Okay. Thank you.
all right.
All right, let's move on to the
All right,
more
you
difficult
got,
issues.
you got your list there, so you
Yep,
just,
yep. Just so everybody knows, if you put up with me tonight, you will not have to put up with me next Monday night or the next Monday night. I'll be in Tennessee next Monday night in Knoxville, and I will be in Florida the next Monday night, so.
well, I just want to know, are we limited to just 2 meetings? Or is it longer term than that?
She's gonna blow it out tonight.
Yeah.
He's in purpose.
So, I thought of something you said today, and I want to try to because I have a lot of respect for you, I want to try to help you with something before we finish here. But tonight, News Charter came and talked about $8 million to help them expand their campuses. The legislature has approved that, and it's we over a period of time we've moved that the charter schools, the public schools, they now have operations funded through opportunity scholarships, and we're now moving towards where counties are going to support their physical plants. And I think that for the best use of taxpayer money, and I'm sort of confused here about what you've told me and what the chairman has told me about what they really need and don't need, and I'm not sure what that is. I just think we ought to support them, whether it be the 8 million or some portion of the 8 million to help them in a very effective manner, provide education for our students. And Patrick, I was trying to think of some a little redneck way to try to explain this, and if
I might can help you with that.
yeah, we got, let's say, government schools and we got charter schools, and depending on who goes or who doesn't go, let's just say Group A or Group B, whatever you want to say. If the charter, let's just say $100 million is available, and let's just say half of that's going to go to the charter schools and half of it, the other half's available to public schools. Well, if charter schools can provide the same thing for, let's say, 80%, which is pretty much, I think, in line with what they said, to provide an education for a student, instead of using the 50 million, they're going to only use 40 million. What does that mean? That means there's 60 million left for the government schools because they got the job done with 40 million. So everybody benefits. The charter school benefits in that they get their plants built, but they get them built in a very efficient manner. That leaves more money available if it's needed to meet the other situation. So I think anytime we do something that's efficient, there's more money available to do other things. So I just thought about that.
So I started off being impressed with the fact that you actually listened to something I said. So
I did. I listen to you all the time.
I was really smiling, and then I'm not sure how I felt about the redneck analogy, so that I could understand.
No, I mean for me being the redneck. Okay.
But anyway, my take on it is Dr. Blackwell came. She spent her time here. She made a great presentation, well prepared. We're not talking about a startup charter school. We're talking about a charter school that's not for profit, been there 17 years. Yes, when you look at the 80% that Commissioner Smith was talking about, they do not have bus service, they do not have a cafeteria, but they have academic excellence. At that school, I know a lot of people, their kids gone there, and they say they can tell a great difference. The teachers seem to be more dedicated. They have, I think, one opening or two, and our Johnston County system is like got 100 and something openings for teachers now, from what I understand.
Probably.
And they've got one opening. They're getting their teachers in. Teachers like to teach there because it's a school. It's an educational process. And I was impressed. I felt like that we somewhat slighted her without giving her an answer or response. But I think this is the opportunity now for us to do that.
And I would just add, I know that the question came up today about the comparison of the two populations as far as, I guess, low-income students. And if my information is correct, that the charter school basically mirrors the economic situation that we find in our Johnston County public schools, as well as the ethnic and racial makeup. It mirrors that of Johnston County public schools. So
96% of the students are from Johnston County. They're Johnston County residents.
Okay, so I agree. The presentation was it definitely changed my thought process, and as Commissioner Godwin has talked about many a time, to getting it done with less. And I think that's what they do a lot with less. I do want to say, back up on one thing you said, and I don't think this is what you meant. You said that the teachers seem to be more dedicated. I think we got some really dedicated teachers in Johnston County Public Schools.
They're more involved with the students that seem to be there at the school because of the process that they go through to choose those students. It's actually a lottery type.
Yeah, it is a lottery situation. So All right, so, yes, sir.
Say something real quick. I know that their request was around 8 million, and it was for capital to build a building. And I think if the board decides to give them, for me, I just work between 0 and less than 8 million. We need to do some work on our end to work with their staff to see if whatever you allocate them, if it's less than 8, will be enough to do and build a building.
Yeah,
In other words, we don't want to send them money and then they
And then
can't do it.
halfway.
Don't want to build half.
We want to do
Yeah,
the trust.
so we want to
we?
make sure that if we give them something less than the 8, which, whatever y'all want to do, that we can work with them and see if they can secure the additional funds to do that. I
agree.
Because we don't want to just.
And
I think it would be good to, thank you, Chad, I appreciate that. Maybe we would say up to
Yeah.
8 million, and then let staff, I mean, there's some legal stuff that's got to be worked
That's
out here.
right.
This is a new day. I think our staff's going to have to help us work out the amount, and I think Jennifer's going to, we got to take a deed of trust, as I understand, on
We'll
the
have to do
property.
something.
And the legal stuff has to be worked out, and I mean, this is a pioneer situation. It hadn't been done before. I just think the board should, I would love to see the board give staff, and I'm not looking for a vote tonight, but, unless you want one, but I think the board, sense ought to give the staff that we'd be inclined to do that. Could they come back with the details of how to do it?
Well, and I'd also like to add, I feel like if we are going down this road and pioneering, which I do agree with, that we have the same accountability standards that we are asking of the Board of Education and the rest of the schools, that we have a lot of open dialogue and transparency of if you're getting the money, we are holding them accountable for what the money is to be spent for, and that we can go back and see that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we can hold them accountable, but I can tell you this, at the state level, charter schools are held to the same standard and are supervised the same way that the government public schools are.
And so, for me, again, we discussed JCC and Johnston County Public Schools, and neither got the full amount they requesting. So to me, that's a starting point. I think and for me, it is precedent setting, a pioneering. Kind of makes me nervous when you say that. I think of people going off and exploring and bad things happening to them, but I think this is one we can count on with 17 years of history. And I mean, I would think that if we do a couple, if we can split it over 2 years, again, work it out with them. If we can give them somewhere between 2 to 4 million of the 8 million, I think that would be plenty. Yes, sir, Mr. Astor, come on.
May I approach the bench?
Sure.
So, yes, I talked to matter of fact, I hadn't even told Chad about this, but I talked to a couple officials with News Charter, and they are planning to do this project, the $8 million project. I assume they're going to be borrowing funds for whatever they don't get, but I think anything you all can do towards helping them with that building will be most appreciated.
Yeah, and I think from at least my understanding, and somebody can correct me, that the charter schools have the ability to go and seek financing where Johnston County Public Schools does not.
Jennifer, help me here. Who's going to get the first deed of trust and who's going to get the second deed of trust? Yeah. If they're going to go get financing, then how's all that going to work?
We would need the first deed of trust with the promissory
And who
note.
do you think's going to loan them money?
Good question.
I doubt I can see no financial institution loaning them money
Now-
if we've got the first deed of trust.
Now, I don't know this to be fact, so I'm going to throw speculation. Someone like USDA Rural Development may step in, but I don't know that to be the facts.
I don't think we need to I think we need to get the job done, okay? If it's 8 million, let's do the 8 million. I mean, we throw around $30 million to the community college, don't even fully know what they're gonna do with it. We got, 120 million for the school board, don't totally know what they're gonna do with it. And I think this is an efficient use of taxpayer money, and we need, I think, to be committed to do it. I'm not saying that that's the right number. I'm not saying about the deeds of trust. I don't know. I'm a washed-up lawyer who doesn't really understand anymore what's going on. But I think we need to get the job done, whatever that is, and we just need some help. I don't.
Sure. Do y'all have a range you want us to work from here up to a
I
certain
think
amount?
up to the $8 million they need so they
Okay.
can get it done.
Okay. All right.
I think Chad made a good point when he said, you don't want to go halfway, not be able to finish the project.
Yep.
I mean, you don't want to pump the tire halfway up.
That's right.
Yeah,
I think we can put on a fair.
So in my discussions with the representative, they're going to do the project regardless. So I don't think they need the 8 million to just, if we don't give them 8 million, the project's not happening. If we give them 4, it's still going to happen. If we give them 2, if we give them 50,000, it's going to happen. But, so it's our discretion.
But the only thing I was just bringing up, I know that's what they say, but that may not know the legalities of where we're going.
Right.
The legislature says that Jennifer, if I say the wrong thing, you jump in, okay? If we put any government money to News Charter, we have to take a deed of trust on the facility. When we take that deed of trust, we come in first.
We lock it up.
And we lock it up. They may think they can go somewhere else and get money. They may be able to, but they may not be able to. And so I think that legal technicality, we just need to know that that's out there. And that you just can't blow that away without some serious thought about it.
So my suggestion would be, since with those issues you just raised, is we're going to come back on the set, we can discuss. I think we've indicated our interest in doing something, but we need to get those details worked out before we decide.
I agree.
Whether it's
I
what
can
it is.
support that.
Okay.
I just think staff needs to meet with the News Charter and see if they can come up with a path for success.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I want to also make sure that it's understood that I in no way wanted to take away from the quality of the teachers in Johnston County school system. I think we have some of the greatest teachers, but I have more interaction recently with teachers over at News Charter that seem to have impressed me a little on. So maybe I misspoke on that, but I want to make sure it's understood that I have great respect for all the teachers in Johnston County school system.
All right. We'll see if they listen to
We'll see what the
live stream now. So, all right. Any other issues that we need to direct staff on what the board's thoughts are? I know we have nonprofits that we have to have the list, so I think we can work through those individually, and we can all, if you have anything when you look at nonprofits, anything, let Rick know so we can get that kind of together where we're headed with that. Yes, sir.
I was just going to tell you, Mr. Chairman, too, and we've got a new method with the nonprofits that the board put in place, which I think is a great step. And so those recommendations are in your budget, staff recommendations. But at the end of the day, it's up to the board, what you might do.
Yeah, and I was just asking, we look at it, and if there's some additional funding or less funding, whatever your thoughts are on a particular request, get that to Rick. I do know we have, and I'll just bring up one specific one in Moccasin Creek sanitary district.
Moccasin Creek Drainage District.
Drainage district. I knew sanitary didn't sound right. But there was some earmarks that needs matching funds to take that project. And I know that's a project we've funded the last couple of times for significant for clearing out the ditches and other things there. So those are things that just pop in my head for consideration, and we can discuss those on the 17th. Are there any other things that y'all can think of that we haven't?
No, sir, we've got a list started, and Mr. Hester and I and Chad will start working on compiling the draft motion, and it'll be distributed to all the board members to read and look at and pick it apart and see what you like and don't like.
All right.
So we'll pull it together like we do every other year's process.
Okay. And I think that we had on the land preservation, I know we have the presentation by the soil and the water, soil and water conservation folks, but we also have TLC, which made a request through the nonprofit piece.
That's right.
So, all right. Ted, was there any, we were just talking about any other things that we needed to kind of have staff be working towards over the next couple of weeks?
I can't think of any other issues that we haven't kicked around
All right.
of any consequence. Anyway, you know, we've still got to deal with the request from the nonprofits.
Yeah, that's what we talked about, so.
Yeah.
All right, we hadn't killed that horse yet, but it's hurting really bad, so we'll move on to manager reports and comments. All right, any board reports and comments?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Did you have one, Mr. Smith?
I just waiting to go, make a
Yeah.
motion to go into private
Oh, okay,
session,
okay,
that's all
hold
I'm
on.
doing.
Just give me 1 second.
No, you go right ahead.
Board members, the committee met today with LS3P and Mosley Architects on the overall master plan. Commissioner Stovall, Commissioner Godwin, myself, along with staff members, the county attorney, and our representatives here from the county. And we had a very nice presentation from both. And the recommendation of the committee has come back to go with Mosley Architects to do the master plan. And of course, that's a board decision. We're just making a recommendation back to the full board. And if you need any additional information, I certainly have the copies of their proposals here. And we just felt like that overall, with the presentations that were given and the experience that they've had with the county here, that we felt like Mosley Architects was the best fit. And gentlemen, if y'all have anything you want to add to that.
I concur with what you just said.
I agree.
Okay.
I think they've done a great job in the past, and I recommend. I got to get back in here because Chad just sent me an email
Okay.
and told me what I needed to do, so I better do it.
Do we need something
All
to
right.
approve this?
Yeah, do you just need consensus of the board, or you need a? Okay, you want to make the motion?
Make a motion that we approve Mosley Architects to do the master plan.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you can,
And just for clarification purposes, obviously, the next step will be for me to have a conversation with Mosley, get some contract terms for you, and then bring that back to you for your final approval.
Yes.
all right. Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, I wanted to announce and remind everybody, correct me if I say anything wrong, Braston, but we're having a public hearing tomorrow night at the college at 6 o'clock for the comprehensive transportation plan.
Yes, sir. It'll be our first public forum, and that'll be located in the TARP building, the Great Hall at the auditorium.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, I'm a member of the RTC committee representing the board, and I can go into all the facts and figures that Chad has helped me with, but they have a 182% fund balance, have a tremendous cash flow, and the county, in taking out the $4 million debt to get the building built, is really no longer needed. It's going to be paid. It's going to be paid off in the next 11 years, and so they agreed or understand that we were going to remove that 285 out of the budget. So I just want to make a motion or a sense or whatever we need to do that we take that 285 out of our budget.
I've got it as part of the budget motion, unless that needs to be done a different way.
You can just have consensus tonight, and then you can approve that as part of your budget.
That it be
Okay.
removed.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
Just wanted to bring,
Yep.
yeah,
just doing what Chad told me to do.
Gotcha.
all right, good deal. Anyone else, board have any comments? All right, we do need a motion to go into closed session.
All right, I move the board go into closed session for the purpose of personnel pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A6. And all the people we're going to give raises, they can leave the room now.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of going into closed session for the reason stated, please say aye. Aye. All right, we will go into closed session after we get a chance to clear the boardroom.